Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining on this afternoon. I am Michelle Robinson. I'm going to be your host for today. I want to just let you know that today we have Jon O'Keefe joining us, and he is going to do the meat of our presentation, everything that you guys wanted to hear about using ChatGPT in Office. And if we'll move forward, I'll give you a little bit of a hint of the agenda here. Obviously, I'm Michelle Robinson, and I'm welcoming you. We have Jon O'Keefe. Jon is a virtual training specialist. He works heavily in ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, Power BI, and of course, all of the other Microsoft Office apps. So he has quite a bit of experience in this area, as much as anyone can have with the new AI features. And then at the end, we'll finish up with some Q&A, and we'll also do a drawing once we receive your evaluations for a gift card to Amazon, so you can spend some bucks there. Jon, will you move us forward for a moment? We do hope you're enjoying your pizza. So this is a pizza webinar. If you ordered pizza and you have not received it yet, please take note of Mike Jones' email address below. It's mjones@syssrc.com, and he can follow up on where your pizza is and try to make sure that that gets to you. We're going to talk about during the webinar, if you would, Jon, move us forward. We're going to keep you in listen-only mode while we're going through this. You can have access to the question field or the chat field in your GoToWebinar box there, and we will try and make sure we answer those questions or address those chats in a quick and easy manner. You can view the webinar in full screen mode, so feel free. You'll see the little hints there to make your screen full screen. You can also, Jon's lovely face is there before us, but if he's taking up too much of the screen for you, you can also drag up on that bar down below Jon and get rid of him altogether. And then, of course, please do feel free to submit any written questions like we said. We'll do evaluations after we finish, and then in those evaluations, you'll have an opportunity to request more information in certain areas. A copy of the webinar will be sent to you so that if you wanted to share it with others or just catch up on a couple things, you can do that. All right, Jon, let's look at the wheel. System Source has a wheel of services. So this is my really quick System Source sales pitch here. We know that most of our clients come to us to improve their systems when they first come. And so sometimes improving is a human thing, right? We need to train our employees to better utilize the systems that they have. System Source has 3,000 plus classes listed on our website at any given time. Of those, 200 to 300 are guaranteed to run at any given moment. So take a look at those open enrollment classes, but we also do private classes. So if you want to train just your team, maybe you want it customized to the way you do your work, we are happy to do that as well. And then our presentation systems groups, a lot of times, customers now, they want their team's meeting room, or they want other kinds of video conferencing, digital signage, and that's what our presentations group helps out with. Then you've got our consulting group, and in our consulting group, we do high-level consulting in infrastructure, setting up your network, setting up your 365 platform and things along those lines. Maybe you need to implement a firewall and you need some help there, or storage. Our consultants are well versed in those things and can help you. And of course, many of you are familiar with our cloud services. Perhaps we're supporting you for your email server, or we're supporting you through your 365 accounts. Those cloud services are available to you. And then, of course, once you have improved some of these services, you need to maintain them. And so System Source, for many, many years, was a service and support company, and we still do that. So that's, our reactive approach to IT. But then most of our customers these days come to us for our proactive approach, which is our managed services group. So we make sure that your servers or your workstations are maintained and patching and all of the things that go into making sure that your systems run smoothly. And once all of this is done, hopefully there's money left over to purchase, because the cycle begins again, right? So those computers only last so long, that software only lasts so long. And of course, many of our customers do acquire their new equipment from us because we can configure it to them to their specs and send it out to them. So that's a really quick overview of who System Source is. We're going to let you know on the next slide that there are a lot of upcoming webinars. I mean, the screen is full. So depending on your interests, there's something that's a little bit out there for you. A lot of it is security related, because security is top of mind for everyone today. So whether you are looking for best practices, wanting to improve your Azure security, if you're trying to make sure that you're building to make sure you're resilient against a cyber attack, or you have a challenge of difficult Wi-Fi environment. These are some seminars that you can benefit from, and they're all free. We do these webinars because we want to educate our customers. An educated customer is our best customer. These are free events. They're not intended to be training. They're intended to inform you and to really kind of get you thinking about where you want to go in the next steps in your organization. And then that leaves us to Jon on the next slide. Jon has, we're excited to have Jon. He used to work for one of our vendors years ago, and he impressed us so much that we reached out to him and brought him on board. He's an exceptional instructor, very entertaining, and I think you're going to have a lot of fun with him today. So Jon, I'm going to turn it over to you, and you can show us some exciting things we can do in Office with ChatGPT.
All right. Yeah, that sounds great. Hopefully everyone's having a good day here. I just want to throw it out. I may have to take a couple of sips of water during this. For those of you with kids, back to school season is also back to germ season. And so there's been like a sickness ravaging through my house. And I think I'm like on the cusp of getting it. So I've got like a little tickle in my throat, but I'm going to drink a little water during the presentation. Hopefully that won't bother anybody. Welcome, everybody. I want to start out by saying we've got a cool agenda for you today. What we're going to talk about primarily is how we can utilize this new Gen AI. That's kind of the term for it. If you've heard that term, it means AI systems that are capable of creating something. Now, what they create can be a variety of different things, but Gen AI is kind of the new industry term for this. Gen AI covers a bunch of different types of things that we'll talk about in a second. But we've got 5 kind of cool things that Gen AI can do around our kind of day-to-day tasks that go on inside of the Microsoft Office platform. So the first thing we're going to talk about, well, the first 2 things are really going to be kind of Excel and data analysis based. I have 2 different Excel documents, one containing a couple of different data sets that I need to do some data analysis on, and also create maybe some visualizations. And then I have another data set that I'm going to pretend as though I am a brand new Excel user, somebody who's maybe sitting down inside your organization on day 3, right? This is their first thing they've been asked. They actually don't really know much about Excel, even though they have proficient in Excel on their resume, because everybody puts that. And so they're struggling to figure out like what functions they need to do, how they need to make this work. And so we'll use ChatGPT, Gen AI, to help us kind of build out those formulas and functions inside of Excel. Then we're going to talk a little bit about some prompting methodology. When you take a prompt engineering class or a ChatGPT class from System Source, one of the things that we spend a lot of time on is building out different prompting methodologies. Believe it or not, interacting with a Gen AI system It is very natural and very easy to do, but there's a lot of tricks to get it to do the right thing. I like to think of these systems primarily as like independent contractors. And so maybe you're bringing in an independent contractor to accomplish a goal inside your organization. And if you give an independent contractor bad instructions, you're going to get a bad result. So these systems function that way. So we'll talk about some of the prompting methodologies, and we'll use those to create some text for emails or documents that we might use internally. Then I have 2 PDFs. We're going to ask ChatGPT to summarize those PDFs for us. These PDFs could be academic in nature, they could be business in nature, but one of the things that ChatGPT is very good at is scanning documents, condensing them down into text, and then you can interrogate that text to get answers that may be beneficial for you. If, for example, you have 30 minutes before a meeting and you've got to understand the 28-page PDF your boss sent out, ChatGPT could be a great resource for doing that. Finally, at the end, a lot of people use GPTs for some basic stuff, like stuff around the house, making recipes. I do that too, by the way. You'll see in my ChatGPT history, I'm trying to figure out what to do with these beets that we got at the farmer's market. But a lot of IT professionals use ChatGPT and other Gen AI systems to help them perform introductory tasks inside apps like Power BI and also inside of the Microsoft 365 platform for a variety of different IT-related needs and wants. So we'll talk a little bit about what ChatGPT can do in that sense. Now, if you're new to this whole kind of Gen AI conversation here, and this is something that you've maybe heard somebody else talking about, and you're kind of, you're a little curious, maybe you're a little hesitant, but you're a little curious, so that's why we're here. Let's talk just briefly about what ChatGPT is. So ChatGPT was developed by a company called OpenAI. OpenAI is a leader in the artificial intelligence industry, along with some big tech giants like NVIDIA, AMD, Microsoft, Google, etc. So there are some big players in this space. One of the current people that you may have heard of, a guy by the name of Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban, owner of the Dallas Mavericks, internet billionaire, guy from Shark Tank. How about that? There's Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban has famously said that he believes in the next 5 or so years, we're going to see 7 to 10 new businesses springing up around artificial intelligence that are going to completely change the way that we do business, that we live our lives. And so the idea being, for those of you that are old like me, you might remember a time pre-2005, before the internet really took over our lives, with a little website we like to call Facebook. If you're old like me, you might remember MySpace or Friendster, but it was really Facebook that kind of kickstarted the social media revolution. And so now, of course, now we have all of these different social media platforms, interactivity, the internet on our phones, right? I'm sure some of you are being sent TikToks as we speak. So that is a paradigm shift that occurred. Mark Cuban believes another paradigm shift is on the cusp due to artificial intelligence. So there may be a couple of businesses in the next couple of years that are worth billions and billions and billions of dollars, maybe trillions of dollars. That's the initial evaluation on OpenAI that we haven't even heard of right now. Now, so the first version of ChatGPT came out in November of 2022. Since then, they have progressively built more models. The models continue to improve in complexity and ability to replicate human communication and human thought. ChatGPT, like most Gen AI, is an advanced conversational model. The goal of a system like ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot or Gemini or any of those that are out there really is for you to be able to use natural language language that you would use talking to your friends or your coworkers, be able to ask the system to perform a variety of different simple to complex operations, and for it to understand and be able to perform the task that you're asking it to. Now, the way the GPTs were built is that they were built on the foundation of what we call a large language model. That might be another term that you hear. And so they're trained on thousands of gigabits of books, articles, websites, text data, and of course continue to be trained through reinforcement from human feedback through every time someone creates a prompt inside of ChatGPT. You get a little option to give it feedback. You can say, you did a good job, buddy, or you can say, no, thanks, I'd like something different. And every time you do that, just the same way you would do interacting with a coworker or with your child, you're giving it feedback. Now, I must profess that artificial intelligence changes very rapidly. It's very much software as a service, and it's deployable inside organizations, but it changes super quick. So a few months ago, if you would ask me to kind of break down what ChatGPT is, I would say, well, there's ChatGPT 3.5. It's a well-standing mechanism, a large language model that you can ask a lot of questions to. It doesn't have a lot of connectivity options built into it, but it's really good at answering questions that you have based on the database of knowledge that it possesses. Then recently, they finished development on ChatGPT 4, which is a more advanced interface. It has improved understanding capabilities. It's better at generating things. And for a while, you had to have a paid subscription to access that. But along with ChatGPT 4, came additional multimodal generation, meaning that it wasn't just text that I could generate images, I could generate music, I could generate video, I could generate audio narration, I could generate a lot of different things. Then 4 became GPT 4.0, which is it's a much faster version of 4. It's got improved capabilities. It can, on your phone, it can do voice. So you can basically, it can replace Siri. It can become a personal assistant. I use mine kind of like Tony Stark used a Jarvis back in the early days of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I talk to it. I have it make grocery lists for me. And it's pretty good at doing that. It's better than Siri, I will tell you that. Now, GPT 4.0 is available to ChatGPT Plus owners. You have to pay for access to it, but it's really good. It's also very good at handling the importing of both documents and images, as well as the creation of documents and images. With ChatGPT 4.0, not only can I ask it to create an outline for a PowerPoint, it can actually create a PowerPoint file or an Excel file for me. Now, GPT-01 is an advanced reasoning skill set. I don't know much about it because it came out, ladies and gentlemen, about 5 days ago. Apparently, they've been training it to think more like a human. The concept being is that it will take its time. It will run through multiple internal scenarios before it produces a result. One of the big problems with GPTs is something called confabulation or hallucination. Those are the 2 words for it, where you ask it a question and then it just kind of shoots an answer at you, and that answer may not even be remotely close to what it is that you're looking for. With ChatGPT with ChatGPT 01, now they're saying that it doesn't do that as much because it is processing internal thoughts. So now it's running multiple scenarios internally as opposed to spitting them out to you, finding the best one and making a choice. They found that with the reasoning model, they increased from 13% of being able to answer in the qualifying exam for the International Mathematics Olympiad. GPT 4.0 was able to answer 13% of the problems correctly. With the advanced reasoning model, they're up to 83%. And with coding abilities are have been put into the 89th percentile in code force competitions. So there's a lot that's coming that's new. Like I said, it came out 5 days ago. I haven't really had much of a chance to play with it. That's the noticeable changes that they've made. It's a really cool update, but as you can see, they're constantly trying to update it. Now, somebody's asking a very complex technical question. I would like to point out I'm not a lawyer, nor do I work for OpenAI. But the question is, how does ChatGPT compensate the owners of the information sources they're using? That is not an answer that I have for you. I do not work for them. I can't really answer that. That also seems like a little bit of a loaded question. But ChatGPT does have the ability to access the internet. And so if information is publicly available on the internet, that is what it is accessing. The other answer might be is that if it has proprietary information inside of its system, that ChatGPT and OpenAI technically should have paid for that in order to load it into the system. But AI as itself, as an evolving resource and tool, is this is a new frontier in terms of the legality of everything that's going on. As some of you may know, a prominent politician recently posted a bunch of AI images of a famous musician, saying that that musician supported that person, when in fact that musician did not support that person. And so this is all somewhat of an uncharted frontier. I will remind everybody that, of course, the law is usually the last to catch up to any of this type of stuff. So that is just what it is. We have to look at the tool for what it can do, and then we also have to take into account the ethics of what the tool can do. But this is no different than every technological advance that's come along, where people were, of course, intimately concerned at the early stages of the internet with how we were going to index websites, with what information was going to be available to some people. There was, for a long time, this urban myth of this book that existed called the Anarchist Cookbook. For those of you that grew up and are either late Gen Xers or early millennials, you may remember hearing all about that in high school and middle school. And so people were intimately concerned with how the internet was going to process dangerous information like that. And of course, that's all been adjudicated, and we're kind of moving for that. But thank you for the question, Dr. Taylor. I do appreciate it. I don't have the full answer as to how it handles patented materials, but we have to look at the tool for what it can do and not necessarily the limitations on which it produces, because again, I'm not a legal scholar, nor is it my place to legislate this, and I'm sure it will be legislated at some point. Now, I want to point out that today we're talking about ChatGPT, and just really briefly, what I'm going to show you today is available in most of the other Gen AI models that are out there. Some of them are very specific. Some of them are more broad. Microsoft Copilot, for example, is an embedded large language model based on generative pre-trained transformers, and it works inside of your Microsoft Office suite, meaning that it can access your documents live without you having to upload them to anything. Gemini is Google's version of ChatGPT. Grok is Twitter, I refuse to call it X, Twitter's version of ChatGPT. DALL-E is an image generation platform that exists independently, but has also been rolled into ChatGPT. And as you'll see in a second in the GPT interface, there's a lot that's in there that you can do. So let me switch over to ChatGPT. I'm going to go ahead and click over here. This is ChatGPT for those of you that have never seen it. Just looks like a pretty normal website. Up here, I'm logged into my user account. Keeping in mind, folks, I do want to point out that I pay for an account. So I have nothing to do with OpenAI. I have no affiliation with them. I'm an instructor at System Source who teaches AI, but I do pay for an account. So some of the things that you're going to see here that I have access to, for example, like the O1 preview, I do have access to that. There's also the legacy models that are there. I have access to the newer stuff because I pay for it. Most of the things I'm going to show you today can be done without paid access. I will try and caveat that to get ChatGPT to create a lot of content, the paid access works better. But currently, GPT 4.0, which is the baseline version for everybody, can create images, it can create content. So GPTs just have a chat window, and all you do is type your prompt into the chat, and it will respond to you. Here, if I wanted to, I could have a nice little basic conversation as though I was talking to an adult or whoever I want to talk to, and ChatGPT can simulate a conversation. Now, for those of you that are really techie, I will let you know that ChatGPT does not pass the Turing test. I can, at some point, I can break it and tell that it's an artificial intelligence system. Also, I can ask it if it's an artificial intelligence system, and it will answer affirmatively. So it's not trying to pass the Turing test. For those of you that are not familiar with what the Turing test is, now you've got a little homework. You can Google that. And if you want to see a great movie about that, I recommend the movie Ex Machina. It's a little scary, but it's all about artificial intelligence and whether or not we can get a robot to pass the Turing test. Great movie. Anyways, so this is ChatGPT. You can prompt it. On the left-hand side, it keeps track of your prompts. As you can see, in the last 7 days, I've asked it to make a simple beet goat cheese salad. I've asked it when you wouldn't want to enforce referential equality inside of an Access database. My wife and I just celebrated our first anniversary, and it's a paper anniversary. And so I asked it for some gift ideas. Shh, don't tell her. I did. I'm not using any of them. I came up with a better idea, but it actually really put me in the right track. So that was cool. I asked it how to create a date table inside of Power BI during a class to show people how to do that. I asked it for total profit DAX calculations, and so on and so forth. So you can see it keeps track of your records here. And at any point in time, what's really cool about ChatGPT is I can go in to an old ask here and say something about this conversational thread, and it will pick up right where we left off. Now, for those of you concerned about privacy, you can always archive or delete these and remove them from the model, but this is what ChatGPT is. Now, another thing is inside of ChatGPT is when you have paid access, you have access to a lot of GPTs. Typically, these GPTs are more specific and less general in purpose. So you can see Wix has a GPT. So I could literally, using plain text, talk to the Wix GPT and have it build a website for me. You could have it build images, do data analysis, creative writing. There's a lot of different things you can do. Now, let's talk about what we're going to have it do today in the next 25 minutes. First, I'm going to show you some Excel documents that I have. The first thing I have here is I have from my company, Willow Tree Tech, I have a 3-sheet Microsoft Excel document here. You can see here in this document that we have some sales numbers here. So we have sales performance, we have the names, we have territories, managers, Q1 through Q4, we have total sales, average sales, a bonus sales column that's calculated utilizing a sum if, and then we have some commission here. We also have a product performance for the different products that we sell. We are a wholesaler of electronic equipment. So here I have some products, some categories, some quarterly sales numbers, and some total numbers there. Then I also have our marketing spend. So one of the things that I can do inside of ChatGPT is I can start a new prompt and say, good morning. I have some Excel data, and we'll change this to the GPT-4. I have some Excel data. I would like to make some visuals around. Now it's asking me to upload the file. I can click on the attached file. Now, one thing you'll note is that one of the nice things that ChatGPT allows us to do is to connect our OneDrive account or our Google Drive account. So this is a nice little integration with the Microsoft Office system. I'm just going to upload from my computer because it's just stored on my computer. I'm going to go to my desktop, ChatGPT webinar files, and we're going to click and open this. So now we have to ask it some questions. It's going to go ahead and analyze the data. On the sales performance sheet, can you show me a chart showing sales by region? Now, ChatGPT can take time to think. I do want to point out that this is software as a service. We have no control over what's going on the back end, but here, and so sometimes the thinking may actually take a decent amount of time. If you're asking it to do complex tasks over and over and over again, it can get a little backed up. It's just the same as kind of any computer system there. But here you can see that these are our sales by region here. So here's a bar chart showing total sales by region. Then at that point, we can come in and we could switch this to an interactive chart. If we wanted to go ahead and look at that, we can download the chart, we can expand it so it looks a little bit bigger. I see a long question in there. I'm going to go ahead and look at that in a second. Now I could ask, show me the totals for the sales reps sorted by their managers. So now we can get sales totals by managers. Create a pie chart showing me sales performance by manager. Oh no, it looks like I'm the least. That stinks. So my wife is at 23.2%. Our best friend is at 24.3%. I myself am only at a 14.1%. And then two of our other friends are doing pretty well. I, of course, am in last place, which is fitting given how my sales performance would be if I was selling that stuff. So that is some of the performance that you'll see here inside of ChatGPT. Now I can switch. Let's take a look at the product page. Close sheet. What are our top 3 selling products? And so for those of you who don't necessarily have a strong kind of data analysis background, you can go ahead and you can ask ChatGPT questions about an Excel document as you load it up here. Show me a pie chart of our marketing spend. So there's our marketing spend. Easy to ask questions of this to analyze data. Now, do keep in mind that this isn't going to be able to do this with an entire Oracle database, right? You're limited to a 20 megabyte file upload. Any larger than that, you would have to manually copy in the data. So there's a variety of different things you can do here, but you can ask ChatGPT to create visualizations, to do data analysis. And I can ask it, does marketing spend correlate to overall sales in the corresponding markets? So there's a moderate positive correlation between marketing spend and overall sales in the corresponding market. This suggests that generally higher marketing spend tends to correspond to higher sales, though other factors might be involved. Of course, other factors might be involved. Sure, perfect. So not only can I upload this, ask it to create visualizations, ask it simple questions about the data, like who are my top 3 sales reps, I can then ask for some preliminary data analysis before I might want to, for example, try and load this in to something like Power BI. Now, another thing that we can do here is when we, for example, don't know how to calculate something inside of our Microsoft Excel documents, we can ask it for help with formulas and functions. So here, let's say that I need to do a function for the current date inside of this list. I might go ahead and I might come in to ChatGPT. I start a new chat and say, what is the Excel function for the current date? It should give me today. There it is. At which point I can copy code and you can paste the code right in and it will give you the date. Now, I could ask it, we'll make it smaller so I can see here. I could ask it, I need to calculate an employee's years of service. I have the current date in B3 and their hire date in B10. How can I do this? So we can do this date difference here. And it tells me how many years of service they have. Now, of course, I would need to make B3 here. But then I could go ahead and grab those years of service. So if I had no idea how to do any of this stuff inside of Excel, whether it's basic or whether it's advanced, we can go ahead and we can ask it questions. Another thing we might want to do is have it help with a lookup function. I need to do a lookup function. The value I will be using is in C3. I need to return column 2 in a table named data. I don't know what kind of lookup function it's going to do. Yeah, it's going to do a VLOOKUP. So perfect. So VLOOKUP, C3, data table, column 2, false because I want it to be an exact match. And this is how it would do it with an index. So it's giving me options. So here I could copy code. And that has helped me make a VLOOKUP, which is something that, by the way, a lot of people have no idea how to do inside of Excel, but they would love to learn how to do it. And just by asking a simple question, I can get ChatGPT to go ahead and generate that for me. Next, let's go ahead and so that's one, just so we know, that's how we create visuals to analyze spreadsheet data. We can upload an Excel document in, we can ask it simple questions to complex questions. We can even have it do some preliminary data analysis. We can also ask it questions on how to build formulas or functions. Here we can see it helped us do a VLOOKUP over in our employees here. It helped us figure out what the current date was and how to calculate years of service. We could continue to ask it all of these questions here and figure out how to build all of these different formulas if we wanted to. Now, let's talk about creating texts for emails and documents. One of the things that you can simply do is ask it for help. Now I can go, I need to write an email to my clients about a new TV we're selling. And just like that, of course, it will give me a template here to write an email. This may be enough. This may be enough, depending on what you're trying to do. Now, I want to take you through two different prompting methodologies that are pretty popular inside of the Gen AI world. And the first is called RISN. RISN stands for Role, Instructions, Steps, End Goal, and Narrowing. And it's a 5-step prompt that you can build to generate content in a more sophisticated and accurate way. So here, instead of just building this email like this, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a role. People have found that the Gen AI systems tend to function better when you assign them a role, meaning like we anthropomorphize the ChatGPT, we tell it who it is. Now, fun fact, they were doing research on trying to get ChatGPT to answer engineering questions. So they were throwing a lot of different roles at it. You know, you're a systems engineer, you're this, you're that, the other thing. The role that seemed to get the best results was you are a Starfleet engineer officer, believe it or not. So for those of you that like Star Trek, pretty cool. For some reason, that just seems to send ChatGPT into the stratosphere with how it goes about and solves the problems. They don't really know why. It's just kind of a cool thing. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a role. I'm going to say, you're a marketing director at Willow Tree Tech. Now I need to give it some instructions. We need to create an eye-catching email that will be sent to our client base to let them know about our new TV with soundbar built in that is releasing around Thanksgiving. So now I've given it a role. I've told it it's a marketing director at the name of the company. I've given it some instructions here. We're going to create an email, and it's about a new TV with the sound bar. It's going to come out on Thanksgiving. Now I need to give it some steps. First, let the customers know that this is a limited offer and that the TV will only be available until Christmas. My next step might be something, make sure to include 3 reasons why a built-in soundbar is better than TV speakers. And so that's my steps. So I've given it a role, I've given it instruction, I've given it steps. Now I'm going to give it an end goal. The goal of the email is to get them click on our website, www.willowtreetech.com, and to make them feel FOMO if they don't buy. And then I'm going to narrow this. Narrow means giving it some parameters here. This email should use exciting business casual language and not be longer than 200 words. So now I've been able to generate an actual email that's a little bit better than just kind of this like generic email that it sends. And as I could, of course, and it uses language like hurry, this offer won't last, click below to learn more, just in time for Thanksgiving. This premium TV is only available until Christmas, so don't miss your chance to upgrade your entertainment setup. So Risen is a good way to generate content because it gives a lot of different parameters, and parameters work really well with Gen AI systems. Now, another way to do this is something called guided iteration. Guided iteration is a back and forth process between you and ChatGPT. So you tell ChatGPT what you're going to do. I need to write an email to my customers about our new TV coming out around Thanksgiving. What questions do you have for me to help you write this? So this is another method in which we have a conversation with the GPT. We go back and forth. And you can see here, I can provide it with any of these types of answers here. So the more answers I can give it for this, the more accurate the email will be. TV features, target audience, release details, pre-order on sales, price. Do you want to mention the price or offer any pricing hints like affordable, premium, tone, call to action, existing customer offers, tech support. And then I could say, you know, this is a premium television at $19.99. It is 8K with a built-in Bose soundbar. We will offer a quick sale on this for the first 2 weeks. So now you can work with in what we call guided iteration, and then we can go back and forth with that. So it can produce results. Again, so those are two popular prompting methodologies. There's a bunch of other ones out there. Two different ways to kind of to get the same answer, but they're really cool. Now, let's say that I have a document that I need to be analyzed. One of the things that ChatGPT is really good at is analyzing PDFs and Word documents. So here, I'm going to upload a file. Can you summarize this for me? Let's say your boss emails you something, you didn't get a chance to read it, and you just want the quick Cliff Notes. We can ask it for a summary. So here's a 5-paragraph summary of that document, which is all about the labor movement. I might ask, what are 2 talking points I could bring to a meeting about this article? So if you've ever been stuck and you're like, uh-oh, I don't have enough time, I'm in trouble here, I need to analyze something, You can go ahead and you can upload a document in. It can do a quick summary for you. You can also easily upload, this is the Walt Whitman poem, "Oh Captain, My Captain." We could say, can you analyze this for its major themes? And here I'm ready to walk into my grad school seminar and talk about this, which is, by the way, all grad school is when you get a master's degree in history. So those are some great things that you can do. Finally, let's talk a little bit from an IT perspective here. So there are a lot of different questions we could ask. And from an IT perspective with Office 365, we could ask, how do I manage user permissions in Power BI? Let's say our organization is considering adopting Power BI. So managing user permissions, Power BI. Here are Power BI workspace roles. So we can set up different workspace roles, which is where you upload your Power BI reports. We can set up row level security, which is how you can lock down visualizations to prevent data from cross-contaminating so other people can't see data they're not supposed to see. We could set up different sharing permissions because this is how people share reports, dashboards, and semantic models within inside of Power BI. We can set up app permissions. Apps are how you publish Power BI reports to people that are external outside your organization or internal. And so here are some great things we can do there. If we had a question on purchasing here, I'm considering utilizing Power BI at my organization. What are the different model, or what are the different versions, and which one is best for 100 users who need to create and share dashboards? So here you can see these are the different versions. This is, you know, it's like doing a Google search, but I'm getting kind of some best for recommendations, which is really nice. And I'm even getting some pricing there. Now, of course, I'd always want to double check this. Now, we might want to ask a question about something more technical, such as what ports or firewall rules are needed for the on-premises data gateway, which is a tool inside of Power BI that helps with report generation. And so now I'm getting a little bit more technical with the types of things that I'm doing here. It's showing me the ports that I might need to make sure that I have open. So it's giving me my whitelisting that I might need to do to my Azure data centers if I'm going to use the data lake modeling. Anything I need to do for proxies here. Then I could ask it a question. How do I ensure data is encrypted inside of Power BI? So Power BI automatically encrypts data when it's stored in Microsoft data centers. This encryption includes all stored in data sets, reports, and dashboards. Microsoft has managed keys. So this is data at rest security. And then encryption in transit, it looks like it's using TLS, which makes sense. I wouldn't expect it to use SSH. Then we can talk about row level security. There's data sensitivity labels. One of the things that you can do inside of Power BI is actually label all of your data sets from public to confidential, so that way you don't have any data mixing. So here there's a bunch of different things. So we can ask it technical questions about the Microsoft Office suite of products. We could also even ask it something about Outlook. I need a step-by-step guide for setting up Office 365 Outlook accounts for my organization. And it will give me a list of a variety of different things that I can do. Now, I want you to know that one of the ways in which I generated a variety of these prompts is I actually asked ChatGPT earlier in the day to help me generate a list of prompts so that way I can work with it during this webinar. So one of the things that you end up doing when you end up spending a lot of time in Gen AI is you end up treating it like a coworker. So you go over to it and you say, hey, here's what I'm going to do at noon today. Give me a list of things that are answerable. Give me a list of how you would ask these types of questions. So a lot of times when people get frustrated with Gen AI is that they treat it like it's a Google, right? Like you're just slamming something into a search bar. There's a lot more nuance to this. I know some of you are saying things like in the chat here about that one of the ways in which you found successful utilizing prompts is actually write the prompt somewhere else and then copy it in. There's a lot of different tricks and techniques. This is a new field for everyone out there called prompt engineering. If you hear that term, what that refers to is that how do you interact with Gen AI systems? How do you ask it questions? Do you use the Risen methodology? Do you use guided iteration? Do you do something called chaos prompting? Do you do an Ishikawa design? Do you do a SWOT analysis? All of these things are available inside of ChatGPT. The trick is learning it and trying to understand how it best responds. The more time you put into it, the better the results you will get. Okay, folks, so we've covered our 5 main topics. We've talked about creating visuals to analyze our spreadsheet data. We've looked at how it can help us build formulas for data analysis inside of Excel. We see a couple of different ways we could utilize it to build text or documents. We saw how quick it can summarize a document for us if we ever forgot to do something, like read the document our boss sent us. And then we looked at a bunch of different things that it can help us set up when it comes to Power BI. Now, does anyone have any questions? I see some questions down here. I thank you so much for your compliments. I do run on compliments, so that's great. I run on coffee and compliments. I appreciate that. I'm going to put the, I'm going to show you guys here. We've got some new slides coming up, new classes coming up here. So I'm going to turn this over back to Michelle. I'm going to take a look at these questions and see if there's anything I can answer here.
Thank you so much, John. I mean, that was jam-packed full of really, really good information. I'm a personal believer in using ChatGPT for my work, and I think if you haven't tried it yet, you'll become a full believer as well. I did want to share with you, we have a special pricing offer for each of our attendees and your coworkers for some classes coming up. There are several classes where every date we have of that class is guaranteed to run. They're just so popular. So our newest class is ChatGPT to increase Microsoft Office productivity. In that class, we do look at Excel, Word, and PowerPoint, and using ChatGPT to do our work in those items. That is a class that John teaches, as well as ChatGPT AI for everyone. So this is a great primer into what is ChatGPT, how is it put together, how do I interact with it, and talks a little bit about what we know about it and what we don't know, right? Can you trust everything that you get out of ChatGPT, or do you need to look at it skeptically and analyze it? We also have, many of our clients are moving over to Copilot and purchasing Copilot for 365. There's a great administrators class for that. We also have an end user class for that. I did not include that here. The Microsoft Azure AI fundamentals for any of your IT folks who are really wanting to get a overview of what this entails for them, that AI 900 one-day class is a great place to be for that. So several different things. These classes can also be done privately for your group. So if you have a group of 6 or more, and you want to, try and customize that training around your vertical or what maybe specific use cases, we can do that for you as well. If you would, when you log off today, we're going to give you a survey, and we do ask that you complete that. It's really important for us to know how we did today. Also, what can we do better for you in the future? What topics would you like to see? Jon, did you have any?
I'm going to answer the questions that are in here, just if Michael and Andrew are still here. Michael, I like the way you do it. ChatGPT does have a token limit, which is what I think what you're asking. So there's a limited amount of what we call tokens, meaning words that you can put into a prompt. It also has token limits for its expression. It is possible for you to truncate that, and so ChatGPT actually has its own shorthand. If it needs to produce something that's very long, it will produce multiple responses in a shorthand that then can be expanded. But that is an effective strategy. So Michael says he puts kind of everything that he wants to prompt into a Word document and then copies it over. That's a trick a lot of people use instead of writing it in there. But ChatGPT does have a prompting limit. So, and I'm going to be honest with you, Michael, and everybody else, nobody really knows what it is. And it's very dependent on the data load that's going on. And so as a paid user, I have more prompts that I can do in a shorter period of time. But you will occasionally, if you prompt too much, get a notification that says, oh, you can't prompt again for another 30 minutes or so. So that does happen. And then ChatGPT, for Andrew, who asked a technical question, ChatGPT does have in their settings, they do have, you can find, there are data controls that you can set here. So you can export the data to see what you can turn off, improve the data model. So that's there. In terms of like the policies, it's a little tougher to get to like the actual like policies of what they do with things that you upload. So I do understand that. There is a little guide down here. So they do have their terms of like their data processing. So like sharing and publication processes, all of that stuff is here. I find it to be very obtuse. So your mileage may vary with it, but so Andrew asked, what are their policies about retaining stuff that you upload? This is where it lives. You can investigate it yourself. I'm not going to speak for the company. Once again, I don't work for OpenAI, so. I'll end with this. I would never load anything that had PHI or PII into ChatGPT. I wouldn't do it.
Which is always a great practice, 100%.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure everybody here was thinking, yeah, of course, Jon, but that's just, that's my perspective.
Awesome, Jon. I thank you so much for your presentation today. As always, it was great. I hope the rest of you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed your pizza. Look for us to come up with another webinar soon, likely in the Power BI sector. We've had some hot topics around that, but certainly do put in your evaluation anything that you'd like to see coming up in the future. And we thank you, and we will see you next time.
Thank you so much, guys. Bye.